Well, look what we have here. Whole bunch of honey, empty bourbon barrel, lots of yeast, and a bunch of other stuff because the topic of the day is mead, specifically barrel-aged mead. So I came across, welcome back, I came across a few bourbon barrel from Few Distillery down in Illinois and decided that we should fill that with mead. And I haven't done a mead video yet. So I'm gonna do what's really gonna be a pretty basic recipe. We're gonna do a traditional orange blossom. I'm gonna put that in a barrel and then I'm gonna pull it out and do a whole bunch of different experiments with it. I'm not entirely sure yet of what I'm gonna do, but it's a great use for a barrel, and I'm gonna walk you through some of the steps to show you how to make a successful batch of mead. I think a lot of problems that people have when they first do mead is that it comes out kind of like rocket fuel because they don't know how to treat it. I mean, yeah, basically water, honey, yeast, mead. But honey is devoid of a lot of nutrients that normally what we're used to as beer brewers comes naturally, comes with the grain. Here there's a dosing regimen that I'm going to walk you through. It's really kind of the most important over the first couple 4 or 5 days. I'll put some links below to kind of show you where I went to build the recipe to understand how much of all the different stuff that I'm going to put in. So that should be, it's pretty basic. There's also, a number of good other Facebook groups that I think are really helpful. If I remember, I'll post the one in particular that has a lot of really good information on it that that you should read before you get started on this, because honey is expensive. I mean, it's like $4 a pound. That's 96 pounds that I just had, and there's a lot of investment that's going to go into this, but I know it's going to be great. So I will get started with a little bit of prep and I'll show you the steps. Alright, so what I have now is, see this? Go Firm, not official packaging, but according to recipe, 18.75 grams of Go Firm. So I weighed that out, added some as hot of water as I could get it with just from my tap, which was about 140 Fahrenheit. I'm whisking it together. This stuff doesn't like to go into solution, and what this is it's a nutrient for the yeast to help get a good start, a good start to the pitch. So I am waiting till this gets down to about 95 degrees, and then I'm going to pitch 3.5 of these 5-gram packages. I'm going with D47. I like D47 for traditionals. Doesn't really matter, probably a ton because it's going to go in a barrel, but I do like this. So I'm going to keep stirring this till it gets down to about 95 and then pitch the yeast. Alright, so I've got my carboy sitting on my scale. I have my honey right here. So this way this is all tiered out. I'm just going to add in approximately 24 pounds. And then I also use just regular spring water. I don't want any of the anything that's in my normal tap water, which is fine for brewing. I don't really want any of that stuff in the mead. It can just be very good straight spring water like this. It probably has a little few remnant, miscellaneous minerals in it, but nothing I'm worried about. The results so far have been really good with it. Once I get all that mixed in, so I'm going to put in 24 pounds of honey, top up to about 5.5 gallons, because I know that the whiskey barrel is not exactly 15 gallons. I know that it's more than that, or that at least there's more room in there, and I want to fill up as much of that head space as possible. Worst case is that I have a little bit extra and I can have it as a traditional without, which isn't a bad thing. I'm also going to be mixing it with this thing. So it just goes on the end of a cordless drill, so called a wine whip. It just helps incorporate the water and the honey. It also whips in some oxygen into the must, was what it'll be called, which is what you kind of basically call the wort of the mead. And from there, once the yeast gets ready, I will proof this in, and then that's about it. So let's get to adding this. Turn on our scale, shut off. let's hope I hit it right. All right. 14. A little more. And it's just a little more than 24 pounds. So now, so that should give us about 2 gallons, 12 pounds per gallon. So now we just add in the water and stir. Simple as that. So here we go, yeast is pitched, all 3 lining up inside fermentation chamber. I have little notes, let's see, 1170, 1165, 1164. They're all sitting comfortably at 62 degrees Fahrenheit, nice sweet spot for my D47. Fermentation will likely bring it up into the 63, 64, but that's okay. So here they rest, and we'll check back in when we make our next additions tomorrow. So we're now here for the first addition. As I have my little sheet here that I have it days on the left, additions on the right. I cross them off. It's just kind of a nice way that I use to remember all the steps as I need to do it. And this is Fermade O. So this batch has 12 grams of Fermade O today. It is now 24 hours since yeast pitch. I should also note that although you saw me degassing the must just before I did this, I also did another degassing step. If you're a little bit over, that's okay. A degassing step after 12 hours. So every 12 hours is do the degassing step. You want to do this, it pulls CO2 out of solution. And also, it eliminates all those little nucleation points when this goes in here, and it's going to save you from a lot of foaming issues. So, 12 grams, a little more than 12 grams, going in the carboy, and again in the morning, we'll degas again, and then tomorrow I'll come back with another 12, come on, focus, there we go, another 12 grams. And then we'll get to the Ferm K and the DAP when we get to that day. So today's the day. Mead is done, topped out, 15.1%. Going in this barrel, it is a used bourbon barrel from Few Distillery. Probably mentioned that already. I have rinsed this out with boiling water. Just shake it, dump it. Just trying to get there. There's going to be excess chips, and as well as there's just going to be extra whiskey that I'm trying to pull out. I did keep some of the actual bourbon inside this barrel and sloshed it around all the time to make sure that it was wet, or at least pretty wet on the inside. I didn't have any issues when I put boiling water in here with it leaking. I did check that first, so if you've never done a barrel before, make sure you do that. You really don't want to have product coming out of the staves, even though this is pretty tight. I do have a dry airlock in here. I highly suggest these things. This is a number 11 for this 15 gallon. These things are just great for this kind of purpose. That way, I know it's going to sit in here for a while. I don't have to worry about refilling with water or sanitizer or vodka or whatever you put in it. So I'm going to take these, I'm going to siphon this in. I know that this 15 gallons is probably a little more than 15 gallons. So I have about 16 and a half gallons overall. I made each batch about 5.5. The extra I already have a plan for is just going to be probably, I'm going to put cotton candy grapes in it. I don't think that I need to keep any as a traditional because I've already made a traditional orange blossom mead. So I know what it's going to taste like kind of as a control. If I hadn't, like if I was going to use, say, avocado blossom or some kind of oddball thing like that I've never used before, that I was going to put in a barrel, which I wouldn't suggest doing, I would still keep some left over, bottle it, store it, and that way I could have it as a control later. That's just kind of one of those fun sort of vertical things that I like to do. I think that pretty much wraps this up. There will probably be some kind of tasting after the fact, especially when I get into all the different variants that I'm going to do. It's going to be a pretty fun project. I do have labeled on the side here, I have the date, the information that I have, because that's just a way of kind of tracking what's been in this thing. And then, I don't know, probably about 2 months in is when I will take a tasting. I've got these little stainless steel screws drill into the head of the barrel to pull a sample and put the stainless steel screw back in. And that way you can kind of take tastings whenever you want. You can also get nails, stainless steel nails. That works too. It's really kind of I guess a personal choice. This is what I could find pretty easy at Lowe's. Like I said, I'll come back with some tasting notes, maybe some updates along the way of what it's tasting like. Hopefully it turns out like I think it's going to. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to it, like it, all that kind of stuff. Share it with your friends, and I will catch you next time.